The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has launched a report on the status of human rights during the novel COVID-19 pandemic. The report cites access to water in informal settlements in Nairobi and other counties, as well as housing deficiency as the major concerns. According to the Rights Director in charge of research and advocacy, Anne Okochwe, the research undertaken at the onset of the pandemic focused on 7 major areas, including enforcement of COVID-19 prevention and control measures. Meanwhile, police brutality remains Kenya's sore thumb even as the pandemic rages on. Grace Ongoi has more from the Human Rights Research.
Prevailing times have seen human rights bodies come out to stress the need for upholding human rights during the pandemic. As part of the Ministry of Health guidelines during this time is the call for thorough and continuous washing of hands. However, access to water in informal settlements in Nairobi and other counties remains to be a major concern. Secretary to the KNCHR Commission, Dr. Bernard Mogesa, has stressed on the need for the government to safeguard Kenyans' right to access to clean and safe water for drinking.
The price of water, especially in the city of Nairobi, where a jerrycan of 5 liters, 20 liters was going for 5 shillings before COVID-19. But now during the COVID-19, the same jerrycan of 20 liters in Nairobi, especially in our informal settlements, is going for 30 shillings. And indeed, this is exorbitant, and not all the residents of Nairobi, especially in the informal settlements, can be able to manage this.
Among the key areas that KNCHR looked into was the access to proper housing. Recent weeks have seen thousands of Kenyans being forcibly evicted, as was the case in Kariobangi and Rai, leaving them to sleep in the cold in high numbers. This situation drew a lot of attention, with even the Judiciary President, Chief Justice Maraga, calling out the executive for failure to uphold court orders against the said evictions. Amnesty International added their voice in the matter, calling out the government for breaching the evictees' human right to housing. Stressing on the same matter, KNCHR Director in charge of research and advocacy, Anne Okochwe, lamented that such evictions expose Kenyans to contracting the virus.
Even if evictions are to take place, they must be within the laid down human rights standards and principles that we have both nationally, if you look at our constitution, but also international through the instruments that we have ratified. Issues like notice, issues like looking at the vulnerable population, these are things that we are requesting the government to comply with. And further reiterate, we are calling for the suspensions of all evictions.
Vulnerable members in the society remain to be the most impacted with the COVID-19 pandemic. The report released by KNCHR as part of its recommendation has called for the National Emergency and Response Committee on COVID-19 to prioritize and strengthen action aimed at cushioning the vulnerable.
Especially now during this pandemic, there are various vulnerabilities that they face, even in terms of complying with the various directives that have been put in place. We all know that as much as the pandemic has hit our economy, it has hit further the vulnerable people like persons with disability.
Even as COVID-19 continues to unmask the state of human rights delivery to Kenyans, human rights bodies like the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has urged the government to ensure they uphold human rights in their service delivery to Kenyans. Grace Ongoi for OpTV Newswatch.